Black girls are beautiful.
Hey, my name is Nikki. Who am I? I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a cousin, I'm an auntie, I'm a friend, I'm a colleague, and I'm an educator. I'm a dancer, I'm a shower singer, um, and I'm a fun person. I've been working in the nonprofit sector forever. I was born in Tyler, Texas, moved around a lot. We were a military family, so I grew up, I should say, in several different places, including Texas, Hawaii, and several places around Washington State, like Bremerton, Port Orchard, and now I live in Des Moines, Washington. Um, it's always hard for me to answer if I can. Whether or not I'm confident has never been a straightforward yes or no question for me. I feel like I've always been in process for that. So the times that I feel most confident, I feel like preparation is usually at the center of that. And it could be preparation for anything. It could be for dance, it could be in school, like whether or not I've done my homework and I feel prepared for a test, like that preparation and confidence for me has always worked hand in hand. But then I think there are other things, like these are so small, but when I feel like I have on the right outfit, I'm like, there she is, like that does something for me when I feel like I look good, whether it's clothes, whether it's my hair, how my hair is done, and if it's if it's just styled in a way that I feel that just makes me feel happy, makes me feel good. Or another way of thinking of it too is like, if my hair is done in a certain way, it's like one less thing that I have to worry about, right? It's like, okay, I know my fit is good, I know my hair is good. So like my insecurity might, shift to something else, like, okay, but maybe I didn't study or maybe I didn't practice or role play or do this other thing to really feel prepared. But yeah, there's so many. Some of this I think is also situational. I think that in certain circumstances I feel really confident. A lot of times in school I would feel fairly confident, like when it came to the academic stuff. But if I had to speak in front of the school, or if I had to I don't know, just do something maybe that pushed me a little bit outside of my comfort zone. Yeah, that confidence I felt like could be easily shaken, and it could be shaken by really small things, right? But there'll be other times where I'm like, ooh, got, my face beat, got my makeup on, that'll make me feel good. And also just knowing like where I come from, standing on the shoulders of people who have done incredible things before me. My family, knowing how hard they've worked. Those are some of the things I think that I pull on to that make me feel confident. Honestly, as an adult, I'm 40 years old now, and I still have these periods where I struggle with my confidence. I'm in a new role. I'm a COO at a nonprofit, and it's my first time being like in this kind of executive level, an executive level at an organization. And I struggle with imposter syndrome so much, and like, do I really belong here? Even though, I've gone to school, I've got my master's degree, I have all this experience, and I've always been quickly promoted at the different places that I've worked, and yet it doesn't feel like it's enough. And I find myself comparing myself, whether it's the pedigree, whether it's the experience. And it's like one of my colleagues, like, she's been a principal, she's been like all these things in school, and then I see myself, or I have to catch myself comparing and thinking like, oh, I don't have this school, my experience doesn't look like hers, so maybe it's not good enough. And I have to catch it. And I'll say, I mean, I think I've become better at catching myself and not allowing those voices to just kind of permeate and stay in my head in ways that I felt like I couldn't control when I was younger. And those things would just stay with me and I would just mull over them, time and again. And now I've become better at that, but it's still a struggle and it's still something that I have to navigate through, something that I have to like check myself, and I have to figure out ways, whether it's like, I have to just say, you're the shit. I have to convince myself sometimes and say words or remind myself, look at my degree, or, I have to find ways of changing that narrative because I know how damaging it could be, because I've experienced that growing up. I know how damaging it could be to not stop it in the moment. But it ain't easy. It ain't easy. And I'm not always the best at doing it, but that's at least what I try to do. Moment of insecurity my mom shared with me as an adult. I don't remember it, but she said that we were driving home one day. I had to be about 6 years old, so when we lived in Hawaii, and I basically was like, I'm not pretty because I'm dark skinned, and my mom is lighter skinned, much lighter skinned than I am. And in that moment, she was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? You're beautiful. And she said I was crying, and she had no idea where or how I had internalized being that dark is ugly, and I was several shades darker than I am now, especially living in Hawaii. And I was serious about it, and unequivocal. And my mom was kind of trying to talk me down, but she just said mostly she just felt confused and helpless. Like, what do you tell this baby, about her beauty? As an adult, though, it just got me thinking about, like, what was I watching, and I'm sure so many, especially back then, like in the 80s, so much of what kids my age were taking in, the Disney cartoons, and it's all white girls. Like, there were no people who looked like me. Band-Aids didn't look like me, there were all these things. So I'm sure those were some of the things kind of implicitly that I was taking in, but it's just crazy to think that was happening at 6 years old, right? Another pivotal moment I can remember was when I've mainly lived with my mom in Washington, but I went to live with my dad in North Carolina. And I was in 7th grade, and it was my first time going to an all-Black school. And I was pumped before I got there. I was pumped. I was like, this is what I've always wanted. I'm going to be around all these people who are just like me. And that was not my experience. I felt it brought up new insecurities that I didn't necessarily have when I was living here with my mom. And, just like any other kid, I'd had acne, my teeth were crooked. I was a little bit of a late developer. And then I'm living with my dad, who is not good with girl stuff. And I started developing breast. And but I didn't have a training bra because he didn't know he was supposed to go buy those for me until I got teased at school. So I had, I felt very comfortable in my skin I would say, I don't want to say for the first time, but that was something I think I struggled with in terms of like, oh, I'm the only Black girl in my school or in my class. I dealt with that more in Washington. Now I'm at this all-Black school, but all these other insecurities were highlighted while I was there. And that was really, really hard for me to navigate. And I think I was more so, I remember that more than I remember kind of bad or negative experiences growing up in predominantly white schools, where I was constantly questioning, like, am I pretty enough? Like, I'm never going to have a boyfriend because I don't, the boys used to go and snap the girls' bras, and one boy went to snap mine. I didn't even have a bra. So I'm like, I don't even have a bra. Like, it just, all these other insecurities became so much more pronounced at an age where all those things matter, right? And you want to be pretty and you want to be accepted. And I kind of felt like I wasn't for these reasons that I had no control over. So that was really pivotal for me. Thinking about, I mean, it's so easy to go straight to, like, when we think of Blackness, like the oppression and slavery and Jim Crow and just all of the negative. But something, I mean, when you think about it, our ancestors, they survived all these things. They survived. Like when you flip the script, they survived slavery and Jim Crow and separate but equal, and disproportionate data around achievement outcomes. Like, I mean, all of these things that we see that we could look at from a deficit model are my people. Your people survived that, right? And I'm a product of that survival, of that resiliency. That makes me incredibly proud to come from that lineage and to come from those people. And not everybody can say that they come from those people. Like, that is mind-boggling to me. So just being Black, point blank, period, don't need to put nothing else on it, makes me proud to be Black, period, before even the gender. But beyond that, Black women are dope. Like, and it's funny because even as I'm saying this, I'm like, I'm not even thinking of myself. I'm thinking of like the women around me. I'm thinking of, the women in my family. I think of my grandmother who, she had 6 kids. She stopped formal schooling at 8th grade. She got her GED like in her late 70s. And I'm like, and to me, she's brilliant. She has all the degrees, all the pedigree, and she's amazing, and she's taking care of her family, and she is sacrificed, and she's like a wizard at Scrabble. Like, I mean, she's just incredible. And that's my people. Like, I come from that, I think that, I mean, Black women we sacrifice, we hold it down when no one else will. We will go the extra mile. We'll do the things that no one else is willing to do. We are the end all, we are the beginning, we are the end, we are the middle. Like, Black women are just, I just feel like we exceed expectations. We go above and beyond time and again. And like, so as I'm saying this, I'm like, man, we should all be confident. Like, why do we struggle? I need to be telling myself these things and reminding myself of these things. So there's just so much that I'm proud to be associated with this group, and there's just the common struggle, we all have we talk about our hair, the versatility of our hair, the way that we walk, the way that we talk, the swag that we have. It's so unique, and it's so us, and it's so different. Like, we're not a monolith, but then it's like this, there's a sameness about it too that's just dope. And it's it's just incredible. It's incredible, especially for a people who have come here without a culture intact, and the fact that we still have a culture that has been developed over time, in the States. It's amazing and blows my mind. So we are just phenomenal. We are phenomenal, in the words of Maya Angelou. And so if I'm thinking about advice that I would give to any Black girl struggling with confidence, I would say, I know for me, when I look back, at least, I was struggling with trying to be perfect. I was trying to fit an image, whether it be for beauty, whether it be for, how you should talk, how you should do everything, how you should fill in the blank, right? I was pursuing perfection and was always disappointed because that does not exist, right? And so I think if you could let go of that pursuit and really learn how to accept your flaws. We are all flawed. And honestly, a flaw is it's subjective, right? I might think, man, I hate my fingernails. And somebody else could be like, ooh, boo, I can't even grow fingernails. The fact that you got a little hang time up there, that's like, I mean, we are all our own worst critic. We all can point out the things that don't look good or we don't feel good about. And somebody else will look at that and say like, man, like you complaining about your clothes. I don't even have an arm. You know what I mean? Like there's just always somebody who is worse off. And it really just depends on your perspective. And you can control your perspective, right? There might be things about your body. Like my teeth were jacked up when I was little and we couldn't afford braces. So at that time, I just had to deal with it. You know, when I got older and I was making money, I was able to do the braces thing, but I just had to accept that this is what it is. You know what I mean? And there's nothing that I could do about it. And I'm not saying that it's easy. And I know that it could be hard because people might tease you. And kids can be really cruel, but it isn't until you start to accept yourself for those flaws that I think that other people will start accepting it too. I think people take their cues from you. So if I was walking around with my head down because I didn't like my crooked smile, or I was ashamed of the acne on my face, or whatever the thing, you know, whatever that insecurity was, I think people responded to that, you know, and it wasn't until I didn't even notice the shift, but it wasn't until I think I just stopped caring, to be honest. Like it was tiring trying to use my hair to cover up my cheeks. And I got to a point where I was like, who cares? Like if they're going to tease me, they're going to tease me. And then guess what? The teasing kind of stopped after that, you know? And it's a really weird relationship, but I do think that people really take their cues from how we carry ourselves. So I think look, fake it till you make it. You may not feel like it on the inside, but on the outside, walk with your head up high and act like you got all the confidence in the world. And sometimes your actual confidence will catch up to that. And then other people will respond to how you carry yourself. So if you're carrying yourself like, you know what, I got this crooked smile, but I'm still gonna be cheesing for every picture and all that stuff, people kind of don't care. They'll move on to the next thing. So my advice, accept yourself for who you are. I'm giving kind of beauty examples, but I think this goes well beyond what you look like on the outside. Also on the inside, accept yourself for who you are. It doesn't mean that we don't have work to do and that we can't improve ourselves. You absolutely should take those times, be introspective and think about where you can improve and where you want to improve, but don't let other people dictate that. You decide, who do you want to be? And it doesn't have to be, I'm trying to be like this person or that person. Who is the best you? What is the best version of yourself? And go from there. Accept yourself for whatever you think are your flaws, especially if you can't do anything about it. Keep it pushing. How do you leverage that for the best? You know, that would be my advice.
Black girls are beautiful.